Hey, EIP Nation, this is Coach Mike here. We're very excited about tonight where Angie meets with Kim Rogers, aka the Worm Queen, talking about parasites and many, many other topics. So the audio is going to start in just a second. Hope you enjoy.
Hi guys, Angie McGee here. I'm super pumped to have the Worm Queen, Kim Rogers. She is founder of Rogers Hood and a specialist in parasites. So really interesting topic we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the hidden health threats posed by parasites, mold, candida, toxins, and the importance of regular cleansing. Kim, thank you so much for being here. Tell us a little bit about how you became the Worm Queen and parasite cleansing.
Thanks for having me. So I was deemed the Worm Queen on TikTok when I went viral in 2021. I did a parasite cleanse and it went completely bonker viral. Like 10.5 million people viewed my video and about 1 million people the first 2 hours. I mean, it was just crazy. It was nuts. This is definitely an area where it's never been talked about. And so Worm Queen, I didn't want to be known as Worm Lady. I mean, no one really does. It's such a weird topic anyway. So it's like kind of helping people have a humor about it. But I started working in Western medicine in 2004. And so I come from that world. I really love the human body. I love teaching people how to take care of themselves and understand their bodies. So in 2004, I got two healthcare degrees. I ran 25 healthcare colleges. I authored multiple books. I was on advisory boards. So I really do know medical. And in 2015, my health started to decline. I had had 13 surgeries and a hysterectomy from endometriosis and adenomyosis. I had been through the Lupron world, the depot, just constantly was being cut on every 2 years. They didn't really know what was wrong with me. So I decided to figure it out on my own. My husband and I moved from the city. Currently I live in Washington State. We moved from Tacoma and we had a piece of recreational property out in Hoodsport. That's where Mrs. Rogers Hood comes from. Oh. And we built our own log home with our bare hands. And in the process of doing that, I got very ill and started to decline even more. So we kind of came to an understanding that I wasn't going to get better. And in fact, there were moments where I was so sick that I didn't think that I was going to make it. And so my husband decided to grow some mushrooms and try to at least protect my brain and kind of get some nutrients in my body. And so long story short, I was watching a video on TikTok after going through this big journey that I was already doing for self-healing since 2019 to 2021. And someone said, I almost myself over parasites. Oh. So I decided to do my own parasite cleanse with that company. And I saw liver flukes, pinworms, and roundworm. Later on, I did get my stool tested by an independent facility because I had my stool tested by LabCorp as well as parasites.org. And parasites.org found that I had Cryptosporidium parvium, which I had probably had for an extended period of time. My husband had D. fragilis and roundworm. And by this point, I had already cleansed a few times. So the physical worms weren't detected on my stool. I wanted to know even more after going viral and having it detected on my stool. And I found out that there were parasites in our water. So our water was contaminated, which, by the way, 75% of our country's water is contaminated because I'm good friends with this lab. And they've tested 75% of our country, including Seattle, where I live now, which is tested positive for nematodes. So it's a thing here. It's a thing. Our water is not great. We're told our water is fantastic, right? Mm-hmm. Like I had some friends visiting from LA last week and I said, watch this. I'm going to tell them no water. First, I'm going to ask them where's the water from when they put it on the table and they're going to say tap. And they were like, tap. And I'm like, I'm good. And they get super defensive because everyone thinks the water is so great, but really our water is terrible. So that's really what a big problem was for me and my husband was the water. And we didn't drink the water. We were brushing our teeth with the water. We were showering in the water. I was washing my produce with the water. I have a retainer. It was soaking in the water. So you just don't really think about how much contaminated water can affect you. I don't eat raw produce anymore out and about because I don't know how they prepared the produce with the water. Especially there's a really great restaurant downstairs, but they wash their produce with the tap water that I know is bad. So it's like, okay, so back to my journey. So I went viral over on TikTok and I saw something that just is a gaping hole in the chronic illness world. And I was chronically ill myself, knowing things that I knew about the human body. Not once did I think that this would even be a thing for me. Not once did I think this could be contributing to my endometriosis, my adenomyosis, realizing that this is something that was contributing to my mental illness because I had complex PTSD, severe anxiety. I was on Klonopin for 22 years. I was trying to get myself off of all of the big pharma because I really wanted to know what was wrong with me. I wanted to know without a shadow of a doubt what the next diagnosis that I was going to be given would be at 40, not wanting another one in order for me to get another pill slapped on me, you know?
Yeah.
So it was really important for me to find out what was wrong with my body. And in addition, then I just went viral. And now I've been doing this every day since July of 2021. I started a company over at Rogers Hood. You can find it on rogershood.com. I started my own cleanse because I had parasites, candida, heavy metals, and I needed something that was simple for people when I talked about these options that you can have. It's hard for someone like myself that's a solution driven person to have a problem and not have a solution to talk about with people. So of course I just had to create my own product and my own company in the midst of it all.
Oh my goodness. That's crazy. What a journey you've been on. Tell us a little bit more about what exactly are parasites, mold, candida, worms, Lyme, heavy metals, and how they affect us. What exactly are you talking about when you're talking about these things?
So parasites and worms are similar, but a little different. Parasites are microscopic, like D. fragilis, Cryptosporidium, Parvium, and Giardia. I mean, most people know what Giardia is, and it's specifically because of the fact that when your water pipes break, they tell you to boil your water, and they're hoping you don't get Giardia. So that's the biggest thing, what Giardia is. You can get it from animals. If you have pets, you should be cleansing 3 to 4 times a year. We deworm our pets. You should be deworming yourself in addition. Physical worms are like tapeworm, flatworm, roundworm, whipworm, hookworm, which hookworm is really known because it steals your iron and it creates anemia. And it's been proven that this is a way that you have anemia. And so they absorb these nutrients. They say up to 90% of our nutrients are stolen by them because they can just absorb them. They don't really even need to do anything. They can just lay there. They have a biofilm that covers them. It's a mucus. So I realized all of this. And then when I created my own kit, I realized that you have to have all of these things to rid your body of parasites. Candida is an overgrowth of yeast, and we all have yeast in our body. But when it starts to become overgrown, it turns into a parasite. A parasite's definition is anything that feeds off its host. So it can be lice, it could be scabies, it could be a candida, it can be any of those things. So you want to make sure that you're not being fed off of, because that's just gross. Like, they're living creatures in our body, and it's kind of gross, right?
Oh my gosh. What about heavy metals?
So heavy metals are found in a lot of things. For women specifically, heavy metals are in our face care, our skin care. Well, not just females, but males too. It's in our food source. They're in any sort of vax that you get to weight things down. That's the purpose of the heavy metal. And in the case where it's working with the parasite, The heavy metals is weighting down the parasite, not allowing it to be free for you to come in and kind of remove it with other herbs. So when you're doing a parasite cleanse, you want to do a parasite cleanse with a heavy metal cleanse, specifically because it's releasing the heavy metals and then allowing the herb to come in and remove it from that frequency. Everything that we do has a frequency. The ailment has a frequency and the herbs have a frequency. So you want to go in with the frequency that matches that ailment and remove it. Just like when an opera singer sings and breaks the glass, the voice gets to the same frequency as the glass, shattering the glass. So when you're going in and removing these things, you want it to be the same frequency. So when you're going in, you're doing heavy metal detoxing, you're doing candida cleansing, and you're doing parasites. Listen, you're already having die-offs. You might as well go in and at least cut down some of the issues while you're doing them, right? Because if not, you're going to end up having die-offs your whole life because you're sitting there trying to do cleanse after cleanse after cleanse, and your body can't handle that. So you want to do something that's as gentle as possible, which the Parify Kit is very gentle. We give you instructions. We have a whole community. We have over 1 million followers in our community. We want to make sure that you understand what you're doing when you're doing these cleanses, because this is new to us. This is not something that mainstream has really given us these options, right? Like, we think, oh, Mexico does cleansing. Well, yeah, but they know how terrible their water is. They don't lie about that, you know?
Yes, there is so much contamination in the world today. And from a perspective of someone who takes care of a lot of people with hormone issues, it disrupts our hormone system, so delicate, and is affected greatly by toxins and things released by these parasites, and the fact that they're absorbing essential nutrients that are necessary for the metabolism of hormones, such as zinc, selenium, magnesium, vitamin B, and like you said, the iron. This affects not just our sex hormones, but our thyroid and our adrenals and our cortisol levels. It is so important to understand that these types of things can affect our hormones immensely in so many different ways, and that it's just imperative that we realize this can be a root cause for a lot of our issues.
It really is. It really is a root cause to a lot. For me specifically, I had all these things wrong. And when I've cleansed, when I feel like it's time, there's, my thyroid, I've hypothyroid. My thyroid is much better. I was able to take myself down on some of my medications because my body is absorbing the medication at, a higher percent. When you're full of a parasitic infection, your body is not absorbing it. They're absorbing it and they're holding on to it. They can hold on to 6 times their weight in spores and heavy metals and viruses. And realizing that this is an issue, I brought in herbs like usnea, which is Mother Nature's doxycycline. It also helps rid the body of viruses that they're dropping. So while you're removing them, they're dropping viruses that they've been holding on to. I had been tested for Epstein-Barr virus multiple times and all the way to a spinal tap, and it came back negative. And then all of a sudden I do a parasite cleanse and all of a sudden I have EBV. I've never had mono in my life. My sister did. No, now I've researched my family history, genes, and what my mom was sick my whole life, but I researched more. And now I know that whatever was holding on for all of these years, causing me problems, was holding on to Epstein-Barr virus. Because then all of a sudden I got Epstein-Barr virus, I got cytomegalovirus, and that's really what pushed me even more to end up making my own kit, because I wanted people to be able to bind correctly and understand what binding was. Western medicine, we use charcoal in the emergency room when someone would overdose or come in with alcohol poisoning. We would shove a mass amount down, not a little microdose of a negatively charged herb to positively charge everything out. And then when you're deworming like this or you're doing mold cleansing, you have to have a way to clean it up, sop it up, which is what the binder does.
And you have to be having good bowel movements to get it out of your system, and drinking lots of water. So nutrition is really important during the cleanse as well. Tell us a little bit more about your kit and how long does it take and why is it unique?
So it's a 30-day cleanse. We give you about 40 to 45 days worth of product. So we do recommend starting at 30 days. I chose that specifically because I really want you to cleanse. I really want you to have a realistic time frame. It's 3 tinctures and a binder, and you take the 3 tinctures. 2 of them you take 3 times a day, and 1 of them you take 2 times a day, unless you've got some die-offs. Again, there's instructions. So you can take it 3 times a day for 30 days, all the 3s. Make sure you're peeing, pooping, and perspiring, the 3 Ps. And if you are doing that, it's going to help change your thoughts about food, because we do have a free cookbook. We do have a free fast track guide. All of my knowledge is free. So even if you're not doing our cleanse, you can still download our books for free. And it's unique because we either forage or we have ethically found people that source the herbs. So we have a 10,000 square foot manufacturing facility in Arkansas that we hand make all of our kits ourselves. We soak our own herbs between 5 to 8 weeks, and then we process our own tinctures in our own way so that you're getting the maximum amount of medicine that we're extracting from the plant. And then, you just take it in water or in juice or directly in your mouth. I like the way it tastes, so I just take it directly. But it's such a great cleanse because it's not just for these specific things. We just happen to use herbs that are anti-parasitic. I recommend using the herbs if you have digestive issues. I recommend them if you need a little more liver support. We use dandelion root. We use cilantro as your heavy metal detox. You can read all of the different herbs. You can say them, unlike some other products where the words are big and you're like, what is that? Clove. Everyone knows what clove is. Everyone knows what garlic is. So you just can find ways to utilize those specific herbs for specific ailments.
How would I know if I came in contact with a parasite or some heavy metal or something? What are some of the symptoms that I might have?
So a lot of people that have parasitic infections are grinding their teeth at night. They have insomnia because these are nocturnal creatures. And so they stay up all night and keep you up all night. If you eat after around 7 p.m., if you're craving sweets, if you have IBS or any sort of constipation or diarrhea, usually people that have a lot of anxiety, they have some sort of parasite going on in their body. For me, it really helps my mental health. Like, I know when it's time for me to cleanse, I start to not feel my self-worth. And it's because I have small intestinal parasites, and that really is where the emotions come from in your body. If you do any sort of reflexology, you understand that each part of this has a symptom attached to it. So it really is if you're just not feeling like yourself. And it's not a bad thing. We should all be practicing this 3 to 4 times a year minimum. Other countries do this. Other countries know this is an issue. They have access to synthetic medications, but they also do herbs. So if you look at it in a big picture, other countries do this. We just don't in Western medicine countries. I am able to see other countries like Australia and Canada who don't do this at all. These are our biggest countries that purchase from us, is the United States, Canada, and Australia, because it's something Western medicine is denied. They denied that it can be a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I even heard practitioners say, I can see that you have parasites on blood work, but insurance won't let me treat you. And that's really sad, because there are things you can see on blood work that do reflect that it's possibly or probably a parasite, just simple blood work. And Western medicine doesn't really support treatment of that.
Really, it's a Western medicine code, right? There isn't a good insurance code that can be billed, and they have to bill it that way. But anybody can purchase the Purify kit. And I specifically made it cost effective. You don't need a practitioner. And I feel bad for practitioners, but we also have really great practitioners that have it and they know it's helping because of the way that I designed it with wormwood and Oregon grapefruit. If you're going in with just one herb, they get used to it. You got to come in and shock and awe them. They really are there to not get detected. They know what they're doing. They're smarter than us. They've been around longer than us, and they'll probably be around, continuously like they are. You just have to be aware that this is something that has happened to all of us, and allowing yourself to kind of feel that and understand that this isn't really your fault. Like that was how I felt at the beginning of all of this. I was like, oh my God, how did I not know this? I come from this. I was a valedictorian in my classes. I love medicine. How did I not know this? You know?
Yeah. Well, we don't talk about it.
We don't.
No. Oh, it's super exciting. So you mentioned rogershood.com, right? That's where we would find information. You did mention before that sometimes there's like a 1 to 2 week delay because of soaking the herbs. Is that right?
Yeah. So it takes around 1 to 2 weeks to process your order at times, depending on how viral we win or if we have a sale. So we do try and keep up with that. We make tinctures every single day. I mean, and this has got to be one of the funnest things I've ever done. I absolutely love making herbs, making these products from the herbs. Like Mother Nature is so smart and herbs are so amazing. And I'm really grateful we're all kind of getting into this in life.
So exciting. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for your expertise. To all the listeners, if you enjoyed this podcast, subscribe, share, leave a review. Check out the link below. Make sure you grab some cleanse because we all need it. Check out thrivelab.com to start your toxin-free journey with us as well. We're so excited to have you. Until next time with Hormone Harmony, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.